Welcome again to another rendition of Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews. My name is Sir Royce Briales, and I'm with my prestigious co-host, in person this time, Dr. Raheem Young. How's it going, bro?
Everything's good, man.
No complaints over here. Why would I? I'm also pleased to announce we have a very, very special guest. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Albert, I want to say your last name right. Is it just Pless, right?
That's it.
Pless.
That's it. Yeah.
Albert Pless. Thanks for jumping on. How's it going for you over there?
It's going good, brothers. I'm glad to be here, man. I know it took a while for me to get on going with you, brothers, man, but I've really been excited about really this opportunity to chat with you guys. Things are going good. Thanks for the invite.
That's good. Yeah. So, if you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what do you do for a living or for a purpose, and also how many kids you got and what are their ages?
Yeah. So, right now I'm currently the director of diversity, equity, inclusion for a town in Massachusetts called Andover, Massachusetts. I'm the first director. Kind of bringing on some, working on some policy issues and working on some system stuff and also building community around that. So I'm passionate about that. About 25 years of public health, primarily Black men's health. That's kind of my background, public health. So that's kind of what, I've done and still passionate about that. Still have my hands in a few different pots. Current chair of the Men's Health Caucus of American Public Health Association. So I'm really excited about that. Ushering in some of the fatherhood work. So I'm glad to talk about the fatherhood with you brothers. Like last time we met, it was at APHA virtually. I think it was right when COVID hit, right? I think it was right that first year of COVID. Yeah. And I really enjoyed your brother's session, man. So I was passionate about that. So I'm glad we got to reconnect. I got 3 kids, man. My 23-year-old, my God, 23-year-old. I got a 16 and 14-year-old. So soon to be 17 and 15. They remind me every day. So, their birthdays in the next couple of weeks. So that's my world, So I got my queen, my wife, 25 years with her. So that's ushering in these 3 amazing kids, man. So again, that's I'm very passionate about fatherhood, man. Passionate about that role. And this a blessing to have this opportunity to raise these kids, man.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yes, sir.
What have your children taught you about you?
What my kids taught me about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What have my kids taught me about me? I think, let me make sure I'm answering. They taught me a lot, brother. I mean, they taught me, I've always thought I was a pretty patient guy, man. I thought, I was always kind of easygoing, very patient. And, my kids, man, they beautiful souls they are, man. I think you have to be ultra patient when you're a parent, and I mean, I think you have to be even a little laser focused as fathers, man, because I think oftentimes, man, we're kind of like we're kind of like wired in a lot of ways, man, just to kind of do the thing in front of us. Like, okay, do the thing. So fix the thing. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. And sometimes that's the men thing. But and I think oftentimes the fathers were just kind of like ushered in to do the thing. And I think my kids have taught me to be patient with them, getting to know them as individuals. My middle girl, my baby girl, has always reminded me to, see me, daddy, see me, I'm right here, So I always have to pause, and all my kids are by Z. In fact, all my kids have the same initials, so Z and P. So my older girl Zoe, my middle son Zachary, and my baby girl Zahara. And so, but they're all different. Even though they got the Z's, they're all different, unique. And so they just taught a lot about me being patient, looking at them as the kids that they are in front of them, and really enjoying them. And I am doing that. I'm really trying to enjoy my kids at the stages they're at. I'm a big sports guy, and my oldest girl didn't play sports, and so I had to really kind of get with her. What she was music, that was her thing. So I had to really make sure that I was appreciating that for her. My son came along with sports, but we live in a town that's very, very competitive. So he didn't make a lot of teams he tried out for. So that was a little hard for me. So I had to, kind of support him way well. In fact, I'm glad you pushed back the time because I just left a volleyball game that he was playing today. So he made the volleyball team. So I'm in it with that. So and then my baby girl, she likes to play the instruments. So I think, just really being able to appreciate each one of them for what they are, man, what they bring to the table.
What kind of dad are you at the game? Are you the dad screaming and yelling at the ref?
Listen, but not good, man, because I'm not, and I see those videos, they go and clip, man. They like, that dad jumping out the stands, like the referee's running the other way. Like, I'm not quite that, but I'm very competitive, and it's hard, man. And so I'm that dad that, I can appreciate all the kids on the team. Like, I appreciate all of them, right? But like, it's a little hard when, and I see some kids playing, and I'm like, man, my kid's better than him. Like, I out there playing. I'm like, that's to the coach. I'm like, and the referee calls a call, and your kids are like, really? Like, so I do get a little like that's my boy out there. That's my, like, and I'll get that same way, like if my girl's singing, and it's like, she got a little less applause than the others. I'm like, okay, like, he was just as good. In fact, he's better. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I may clap a little louder, I may yell a little bit, and our kids hate for us to yell, man, but my wife's more the yeller. I'm more of the starer. I'll be like, I'll just kind of stand up. I'm about 6'3", so I stand up a little bit and look, but I won't I won't do a whole lot of yelling, but I try not to embarrass them. Like they embarrassed us when they were kids, right? The little kids. I say, y'all embarrass us all the time, at the table, taking y'all out to dinner, and knocking things over, and so I'm like, that's some of that embarrassment may come back around to you, so, but I try not to do it though.
We was having a conversation about how society is changing, how technology is impacting society, and how like people aren't as social, or guys don't really talk to girls no more, and there's things like that.
Yeah.
I know that you said that you've been working in the community for like 25 years.
Oh
What are
yeah.
things that you've noticed as far as like the changes in men or just in society in general?
Just good, man. I'm glad, and those conversations should happen, man. I think it's what I've seen is less. You guys probably heard it on this on your calls here, like just less conversation, less just face to face conversation, just working through things. I mean, I think, and it's sad to watch it because it doesn't have to happen. I mean, I think there's use technology, man. There's a really good use for it, right? The phones, what I'm saying, the computers, there's all they have a space, but I think there's a substitute from just having real conversation, and that's even, I think a lot of starts at home. I mean, I think like just being able to, whatever your home environment is, make sure you can put your electronics down, have conversation. I think, again, I don't want to, I'm not trying to kind of blanket across the board. Everyone's home situation is different, but whenever you can get together for like a meal, or we can get together for, just some conversation, I think that's critical. And even in community, talking to your neighbors, saying what's up, what I'm saying, just like, how things going. I think I see that missing. And that's how I grew up. I grew up in the South, in South Carolina, and everyone knew their neighbors down there. And everyone was your extension. I grew up without a father. My father wasn't very active in my life, and so but I had a bunch of fathers, and uncles, and they took me out, and we went out, and everyone was like, my middle name is Wayne. Hey, this little Wayne, so, and I grew up in a way that just kind of makes sure you knew your community was who you were around, and you built community. So you built it and you had a responsibility of that. You didn't just rely on others. You had a role to play. So you saying what's up or hello, how's your day is about building community, and I think what I see a lot of times these days, and I see it from, even my peers, who they just don't say hello. And it's hard for kids to see that, or young people to see that, and do anything different, right? So they see the adults just walking down the street, not saying hello or not having conversation. And so, they just do the same thing. And it's kind of, it's sad to see, because I think it's just, sometimes it's just, so much can be accomplished if you're just having conversation. You can learn a lot more too. You can learn. I mean, listen, when I'm at these games and stuff for these events, I'm always talking to guys. I mean, like, and a lot of times they're fathers, and we're just having conversation. You can learn a lot. I learned how to fix something on my car just by sitting in my son's AAU basketball game. You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Oh, all you got to do is do." I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay," and we're just chit chatting. So it's just no substitute for just having real conversation. I think that's missing. But the example has to be set by the older folks, man. I think I have to be better role models for young people to see, particularly young men. Okay, we're a lot socialized to kind of stay to ourselves and not express ourselves and not kind of put yourself out there as much. So I think they have to see us do that, and so they can see it being a safe thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know it's probably too soon to know the impact of the pandemic and how that affected kids. Like my kids are 11, 7, and 5. So
Okay.
2 years in school, they had to wear masks. So they couldn't
Yeah.
even see, like,
Yeah.
expressions. They couldn't even make expressions or people or show like a smile. So
Yeah.
even with my kids, like my kids are like a walk past an adult and not say nothing. Like, nah, speak. You gotta speak. Say hi. Like,
That's yeah.
respect. You gotta showcase that. Like you said, we gotta, as fathers, we have to showcase that ourselves, so they can see
Yeah.
as an example. So I think that's real
Yeah.
important, especially nowadays. Like it's the technology is taking over crazy.
It is, and it can't be viewed as a substitute. I mean, I think we got to embrace it, right? I mean, we got to embrace it, and I think it's a good thing. So it's not like trying to say that you should not use your cell, the texting, and that's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying, I think that you just there are times for everything, right? And that's how I grew up. Again, I grew up. There's a time for everything, and so the time to have conversation when you're sitting at the dinner table, you're sitting at out to eat, or if you're sitting with adults as a young person. For me, you have conversation. You not sit there on your phone, you're not sitting there with the remote in your TV in your hand watching TV. You are engaging in conversation. Now, I grew up in a way that was like you kind of know your place, right? So if I'm in a space with adults, I have to be invited to the conversation. But again, the adults they can do that, right? And there's a lot of ways to engage young people in conversation. Could be around school, could be around sports, could be around even politics and music. It doesn't matter what it is. Engage them. They need to see that. I think there's a beautiful song NDRE made on one of her albums that talks with young people, talk to old people, just what a beautiful space that is. And I think that is what I'm talking about. But again, I was raised in a way that, I'm in an environment with adults. I'm invited to the conversation, but when I'm invited, you know, I share my opinions. And, I think that's what we have to model that for young people, that we want to invite them in a conversation and engage in real conversation with them. And I think as guys, I mean, I grew up in a way where guys would have real conversation with me. It wasn't just like we were just boys. Older men were really challenging my thinking. They would push me and to be thinking about beyond. I had to be probably 12, 13, 14 years old, and they were just pushing me beyond where I was like, that wasn't just about college. It's about, what do you want to do with your life? And those kind of conversations. I remember wow, and that's what I try to do, for my kids. I try to do that when I'm around other young men, because I think it's easy sometimes to have these like, hey, how you doing with that girl? And hey, what about them Celtics? But that's okay. That's not, it's place place for that. But sometimes you got to be like, what do you like to do? What are you passionate about? And again, I think those conversations in appropriate spaces should happen more. And I don't see them as much as I would like to. But I agree with you, Sir Royce, man. I think that we don't know the impact that COVID's had on it. I cringe every time when I think about like the fact that we were so we had this inability to show our expressions, because we're so much social beings, right? We're so all about like just reading people. Right now, we always try to teach our kids to read the room, read people, and it's hard to do that, right? You don't know what was behind the mask, and so I think having to now, be kind of almost relearning some of that, I think is a challenge for us. But I mean, I think again, I believe the power of community. I'm an optimistic guy, glass half full kind of person. So I believe that we all, support each other and don't try to find the things that are wrong about a situation, try to really uplift the things that are going right, and if someone's doing something right, if they're making the effort to try to, I think we should uplift that versus like, oh, he didn't do it that way, or you need, I just think that kind of negativity is so detrimental for, us as a society. So I just think we have to do better. And like, I try to start with myself. I just try to be that guy. And that's, in some ways, man, yeah, I mean, when I think about even this journey to fatherhood work, like I realized that, a lot of people can go with their fathers were, complaining a lot, and I was, still with the chorus, oh, my dad wasn't around. I didn't learn how to shave. I didn't learn how to tie my tie. No one taught me how to, I was that guy for at some point, I just was like, it just got tired. It just got really, so I just wanted to be the guy that, listen, like, yeah, I didn't have these things in my life. I just want to be able to kind of at least appreciate what I had. I had a hardworking mom. I would, yeah, I would want to have my father around, but he wasn't. So what do I have in my life? I have uncles, I have cousins who are, solid. So let me uplift them. My uncle, passed away a couple of years ago, was the first, person taught me how to tie my tie and learn how to tie my tie. So I was like, well, late into high school. I was faking it, but I didn't know I was doing it. He taught me, he's like, listen, let me sit you down to just tell you a boy. Thing. I was like, and so I uplift him, man. My Uncle Sheppy, I uplift him every day, man. I'm like, listen, and it was hard not having my pops around because, it's no substitute for your father, right? There's no substitute for that guy. Because, like, there's a part of you that's him. That's just that connection, you know. But I think you have to continue to kind of just build your people around you, and you have to find those father figures, I think, to get you the things you need. And that's what I try to be, that guy. So when I'm in spaces with other guys, when they're kind of, beginning to whine a little bit, I'm like, kind of try to be that guy, say, listen, like, what do you have around you? What can you uplift around you? So again, brother, I try to be optimistic, but it's hard sometimes too, what I'm saying? And my pops passed away a couple of years ago. And that was tough, what I'm saying, when he passed, because I lost my uncle and my father, within almost a year of each other, so that was really tough, to have that. But again, trying to still look at who I have around me and appreciate them.
So what's like, I guess, what's the best advice you received from one of the guys in the community that helped you?
Oh man. Um, oh man, I just and it's kind of what I was saying earlier a bit, just be about it, be about what you want. Be that, again, if you want to use the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see. Brothers that I grew up with, men I grew up with around the community, they always just sort of say, you got to be the example. You have to be the guy. Like if you want the lot cleaned outside so you guys can play baseball, then go get your rake. Like, don't expect someone else to get the rake and bring it. You need to go grab the rake and rake the leaves and, get the lawn cut. Like you got to be that guy. And so I think I've tried to always operate that way again. And I think, it's one of those things I think it could be contagious, right? When you just start having people just say, hey, if you want to see something done, kind of go do it. That could be, imagine if that was contagious. People just like didn't rely on other people to just do the thing for them. They just kind of got up and figured out how to do it for themselves. I mean, again, think about how neighborhoods would be a lot, just, safer, but also just a lot more, friendly. I think people would just get things done, and you may even see someone doing something. You may just go over there and start helping them. I mean, imagine that. Like someone's like doing something, someone's behind, hey, yeah, I'll get the trash bag, and you get, y'all rake it into the trash bag, or got to paint that wall. Hey, I'll go get another bucket of paint because we're out. Imagine that being the way we operate. So that's why I believe in the Power Brothers of telling stories. That's why I love what you brothers doing, man. When I seen it on the LinkedIn page initially after the page, I was like, them brothers, man. Simple concept of powerful opportunity, man, for brothers to tell a story. And I just think that's how change happens when someone talks to someone else, they're telling a story, right? And I think that change can happen so powerful when you are just sharing a little bit of yourself with other people, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I think as fathers, we we're just kind of socialized to talk about, you know, our challenges as fathers. We're, like, and we have a lot, but we also are not wired or socialized to also talk about the things that's going good in our lives and the things that could uplift other people. We're oftentimes just kind of like, "Ooh, well, hey, I don't know, but yeah, yes, you do. You have a lot you can share. Yeah, yes, you do. Now you may be a little whatever, shy about sharing it or whatever, but you can share, you can talk, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I love the platform you guys created, man, around just having people share their stories. And I just think that's just like that can be incredibly contagious, man. So keep up what your brothers doing, man. Please, man. Keep up what your brothers doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's one of the biggest things I've enjoyed by in doing this is hearing the stories from other dads, and even other moms. We interview moms too, so
Beautiful.
to hear their stories and how their dad impacted them, or how their dad not being around, like in your case, impacted you. It's really important for people to hear that because they're going through some of those similar experiences like right now. So
They are. They are, and I think that, I think just being able to give folks a platform to talk and share and you know, I just think that's just a powerful thing. And I I mean, I would love, and I tell brothers all the time when I was, you know, I was running fatherhood classes, when I first, you know, um, I took a job in Cambridge, Mass, running this men's health program. I launched some fatherhood classes, and I remember we was using this curriculum, Nurturing Fathers curriculum. I don't know if you guys heard that curriculum or not, but powerful, powerful curriculum. And I remember there was the first section of the curriculum was really like what you learned from your dad. And it had this cartoon, which basically had this person that was going through, say, a storage closet, and they were just pulling things out, And essentially, the guy asking, so, what are you doing? He's like, well, essentially, I'm taking out the things that I no longer leave for my father, and they were like these boxes that were still there, but I'm keeping the ones here. And I remember that kind of saying, like, even though I didn't know my father really well, I spent some summers with him in Boston. I was born in Boston, but we moved to South Carolina when I was about 6. And then I spent a few of my summers in Boston back, I was that kid that was spending summers with his dad in Boston and going back to school in South Carolina. But I really didn't know him, I mean, I was, he was never around. It was just it's very contentious relationship. But if I thought about that activity, I was like, there's a lot of things I actually did learn from my father. And I think that you can learn some things from your father, what, and I talk about those, like what not to do, right? So I think you can learn some things around, not, I don't want to do that, so like, so the way he did it, now I won't go down that road. And so and there's a lot more of that, unfortunately, than things he did actually share with me. But I just think I don't think it's a zero or nothing thing. I think when you sit and think about some things, I think that there's some things I think you, even with the most contentious relationships, you can pull some things out of that. And I think as far as we owe ourselves an opportunity to sit with that and learn, and I know this is hard for some brothers to do, but who knows your father? Like I had an opportunity, I spent probably the last year of his life. I didn't know his passing is kind of sudden, but the last year kind of, we spent time together. I mean, it was unfortunate he passed right during COVID, you know, but we spent some time. I would go by his crib, we would chat a little bit. But what happened a year before that, his sister came, my aunt came from Denver, Colorado. And, and I was, something told me like, I need to really get to know Aunt Freddie Mae. So because she's the oldest and my father was the baby. And so I formed this connection with her. And so I learned so much about my father through her. Like I remember talking to my aunt on the phone, kind of like, and these were I wanted to know more. So I became like, kind of, and he was and I find so much the things he liked. I like those same things. Like I'm sitting there like some food, some activity, and this is like weird, right? I mean, like I spent maybe a total of like, and this is exaggeration, maybe like intense conversation over our total time frame, probably 10 hours of conversation, and if that. But and not a substance, but like we probably spent 8 of those hours talking about the sports. So let's be clear, they weren't really like intense conversations. But I learned when I'm talking to my aunt, I'm like, man, like we're alike in a lot of ways. And again, I could spend 10 hours on that. Not that I know we got to wrap up, but I just, I just think we owe it to ourselves as much as we can to learn about our fathers. And if we can't do that through them, I just think it's important for us to find out through other people. And so you can kind of like, yourself, but also you can take some of that stuff and try to build on it, if one has the opportunity. So I'm, trying to do that now. Again, I have some ongoing conversation with my aunt, my sister. My father really took to my older sister. She's 3 years older than me. So I now ask some questions to my sister, just learn about the guy, last quick story, so when he passed, we prepared his, my sister and I prepared his obituary. And my younger sister found a picture of him. Now, this is crazy. Like I never saw this before. This picture, brothers, if I put that uniform on my son and he was 17 in that picture, just about turning 18, because he's about to go to the Air Force. That's my son. I mean, brothers. I mean, and again, my father now, when he passed, didn't look like, I was, I never knew he looked like when he was 17. I never looked before. I never knew he looked like when he's young. Never saw any pictures of it, but I'm seeing that picture. Everything is splitting image of my son. I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? But again, just the way life goes around, man, sometimes. So, yeah, man, again, I get a little emotional about my father sometimes, man, because I do believe it was, and I made some choices not to spend more time with him. And that was my choice, but, at the end of the day, man, you only got one time around this thing. So, do the best you can with it.
Yeah, sure. And that's great advice. What you were saying about like learning about your dad or learning about your father, and
Yes,
if you
sir.
can't necessarily talk to that person directly, then talk to the people that they were around.
Yes, sir.
Like in your case, you talked to your aunt, and also your older sister.
Yep.
You feel like those conversations impacted the way, I guess, you parent or like.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, I learned some things. I learned, and this is where it's tough, right? Because I learned even through my mother, who he wasn't really nice to her at all, you know, um, and it's why I believe the power of mothers, man, because my mother, if it wasn't up to my, if it wasn't for my mother, I would have had no relationship with my father. My mother kept things intact. In fact, I knew really nothing about the years. Again, this is, I talk about this now, but like the way he was not a nice guy. I never knew any of that growing up. I saw some of that in my glimpse of, but she kept him as I would thought he was like, the saint guy. You know what I'm saying? She just kept the stories clean. So, but then as we got older, he's aging up there. She told me some stories, and it's almost like I'm sitting there kind of saying, like, wow, like, dude, he did make some efforts, and this is why I think that we can't always just. It's hard, right? We can't always just say, all right, like, my dad's a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Because like I learned some things that he tried to do in terms of like connecting with he and I. He just, again, this is where, and again, I can't fully, like, he just like didn't follow through. You know what I'm saying? It's like the jump shot, right? You just shoot it, but just follow through. Like, just flick the hand, flick it. If it just
Yeah,
flicks it,
good
man,
check.
you hate the shot, but you ain't, nothing's going to happen. If you can, listen, you can give effort for this, but if lets you do that, that ball is not going to go anywhere close in that basket. And I just think he did a lot of these, and I learned, and it was almost like, dude, like just, but I also realized as a father, how you can get stopped right there. Now, as a dad, of 3 kids who are older, I probably did a lot of like this, like, I'm probably like, and I'm pretty sure my kids kind of like, but dad, just follow through, man. Just follow through. Like, in fact, my older daughter, man, she's very vocal. She'll tell me, like, dad, you didn't follow through. She's not like, you didn't follow through on that one, But so again, you have an appreciation, I think, sometimes, because you don't know, and he never had his father, he never knew his father. So, not this excuse, but these are realities, right? So does he know how to follow through? Did anyone show him how to follow through? No. And so I can get only so bad to him. So what I'm trying to take some of these situations for me is like I have to push past some stuff that's uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to have got two girls. I gotta have some conversations that no one ever prepared me for those conversations. No one, I mean, my uncle was cool, good dude, but at some point he even stopped right there, so I had to figure this out that, looking at YouTube and looking at webinars and trying, I mean, because, your daughters are kind of like this, like, okay, Dad, what's the deal? Like, and you're like, and that's just not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. You can't just give the stare back look. You have to give it. You have to give them just some information. And so I had to do a lot of work to make sure I'm following through and make sure I'm circling back around. And I'm, but it's uncomfortable. Some of these conversations are uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. But yeah, I mean, like, listen, I don't want someone out there doing it, you know. So I have to learn and push past my uncomfortableness. And I realized that he didn't have people in his space that I think he supported him and would push him to follow through. I do, and I think some of that is just like, all right, you built your life a little bit. So, I lean on some brothers, lean on some folks like, listen, this is hard for me. Can I talk to you? And so, I've been really blessed to have people like that in my life. I know I'm clock watching, brothers. Listen, you guys gotta, are we? Because I know I could talk for like 18 hours here. Are we?
No, we good. We good. Yeah, we good.
We good?
Yeah. I just got a few more questions. So for
man, let's shoot away, man. Listen. My Celtics losing anyway, so we losing right now to Philly. So ain't no use going back to the game. So
but y'all, the Celtics doing better than the Bulls right now. So
man,
yeah, it's tough for us right now. But we in the 10th spot. We in the play-in right now.
I mean, really though. I mean, like, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I'm just really though. Like, do you want me to play in game?
Nah, it's not.
I'm sorry, man.
Nah.
I mean, if you're Chicago, this is what you do because you're such a pride franchise. Like, it's like us, Celtics. Playing game, forget it. Let the other team that go. I ain't no playing team. I'm a playoff team. I'm not like
so you in the tournament.
Listen, you guys are home of Michael Jordan, man. You guys can't be no playing team.
Man.
I'm respectful. Go ahead, man.
That's one of them years.
Nah, listen. I'm a fan. Listen, you're my fourth best team, so Chicago. So let's be clear. Celtic fan, die hard. I go second with San Antonio. I go third with Golden State. You guys are my fourth best team. So I got a lot of love for you guys, man.
Well, I'm glad we made.
Shoot away, man. Give me questions, man.
What have you learned since doing the work in fatherhood about fatherhood?
Man, it's changing. I mean, it's changing like right in front of me, and I think that's beautiful. And I just think that there's a lot more folks that are interested in this space around fatherhood, and I think helping it to grow. And that's I've learned through being at conferences and just being around just kind of like folks who are really passionate about fatherhood. Non-organized way. I just think that a lot of people add to the movement. So I think it's growing. It I think has like so much potential for us to be able to, because I think we just tipped on the iceberg, because a lot of this I think is really being able to look and appreciate what, and I don't think we've got there yet, a full appreciation for what fathers bring to parenting. And I think we're tipping the iceberg of that, but I don't think we really have really figured out and appreciated that. I think that's the next thing I would love to see is this full appreciation, because it's like anything, right? I think you can always look at something and say, well, hey, if the narrative is that that's not working, then I think people are going to always say, and we know some things aren't working about parenting, so I'm not trying to like sugarcoat something, but if for what fathers bring to the table, I think we have to first say, oh, and appreciate that perspective, and then be able to kind of see how that can contribute to the the overall success of the kid. And I think we just have to continue to push that. So I'm excited about watching the growing of fatherhood. And when I've been in it, I've seen a lot more growth.
I guess how when you was just talking about like the follow through. Well, a question that popped in my mind is like, how has your wife helped you or motivated you to, with your follow through?
Follow through. Yeah, man. Listen, I mean, I think so. She is always showing me by example. So, and that's just the kind of woman, just the woman she is. So she's showing me the follow through, how to follow through, because she understands. And this is why I think like this is something I think we all can learn. Everyone doesn't get it. It's like equity, right? Everyone does not get it the same way. And
Mm-hmm.
I think as fathers, we like, you know, a lot of times we didn't have those examples. So you can't just give us the same thing, expect us to have the results that are all the same. So I think you have to treat people based upon the starting place of where they are. And so my wife has always been that kind of person, and she does no different with me as a parent, where it's like, all right, let me ask you if you know how to do it. And if you don't, let me do my best to show you. And sometimes she would show me by, finding people in our lives that could be that example. I mean, she'll go out and make the effort and find, and hey, show them how to do the follow through. I mean, she can't do it, but she will find someone to make sure that she, to show me the effort that has to be made to make this work. Because, so in some of it's challenging because I mean, I think as a guy, somehow or another, I drank the Kool-Aid thinking I should know how to do this, right? I don't know how that happened. So I was like, hey, I should know how to do this father thing. And so, I would push back until, hey, I know how to do that. Oh, I got this. And yeah, I mean, that's okay to do sometime, but I really believe like you have to be able to just recognize when you don't know how to do something. And it's okay. It's okay. Listen, I worked in the men's health for 25 years. Like, I've always tried to drill into men's heads. Listen, it's okay to ask for help. And that means like a very simple thing. And it is very simple, but it's so hard for guys to do in practice. We somehow or another just have a hard time with like being able to say, I need some help with this. And I think a lot of times how we've been socialized that we somehow or another we're supposed to have figured out how to do all these things. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe guys have messed up things more than we ever have. I've been working with some national partners, and you'll see some information I'm gonna send you guys. I'm trying to have this conversation in June about the state of men's health. And basically, a lot of us for like 20 years have been fighting to get an office of men's health at the federal level. And I think again, who's standing in our way? Guys, because guys, we don't want to admit that we listen. Hey, we may need to really figure out like we need some help here. So we need to prioritize some things. Like so, the pushback now. If I tell you, if women were overwhelmingly in Congress, we would have an office of men's health right now because they're the ones that's like, listen, you know what? I know you don't know, you have no idea how to take care of yourself. I'm just going to go do this for you. I'm going to make your appointments. I'm going to take, they just know. We're like, oh, we got this. Get your doctors off you like this. So tell me what you've been doing on your health. What kind of questions do you have? I don't know. Like, do I supposed to have questions? Like, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm exaggerating, but I'm telling you, this is like crazy. So I say all this to say, we are our own worst within. We got to get out our own way and be able to. My wife has been incredibly. Sometimes she just push me out the way because remember these are her kids too. So like if I'm just really in the way taking them away, it's like okay, you just let me move you out the way for a few little while. I'll just handle this until you go and figure this out and come back. So yeah, man.
Yeah, so it's a question I already asked you was, what does fatherhood mean to you? And you probably gave me probably one of the best answers I ever heard. Real short and sweet. You said, love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And again, man, I think it's really about love. But remember what I'm saying by that, brothers, is love is an action word. And this is
Yeah.
not about you saying I love you. This is about you showing up. This is about you doing the work behind the scenes on your follow through, your jump shot, and then showing up that you've practiced your jump shot. That's love. It's not about saying, "Hey, I love you," and tell them, "Hey, I made the effort, trying." I mean, no. Like, have you really put the work in? Where's your priority? If you're spending time with your boys, or spending time with your other stuff, did you really put the work in? Did you go to the gym and work on your jump shot? Your kids are it's gonna show up if you didn't. It's gonna come out that and you don't want to be told you don't love someone, right? That's the worst thing. Someone you don't love your kids. Well, well, listen, hey, I just think it's an action word. So maybe you don't love your kids because if you love them, you put the work in, right? I mean, I'm just trying to be very simple here. If you loved your kids, you put the work in. And sometimes that's about looking at your list and saying, all right, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that again. All right, take that off my list. And now I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on learning how to play the piano. Because you know why? Because my daughter likes to play the piano. And she would love for her dad to play the piano with her. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna learn how to play the piano. Okay. And I think that's love. So it's an action word. It's not about us just really this whole lip service stuff. The time for that's just it's not no time for that. And not when it comes to our kids. We just lip service stuff. I think you gotta stop. You gotta stop.
All right, so I know we're getting close to time, so I have one last question for you. So,
Yes, sir.
if you can give any advice to a new dad or that's a dad that's starting out, what would that advice be?
I mean, something's always been told for me, and it's very simple. And I just think it applies not just to my role as a father, but to life. And I is look at fatherhood. Your role as father is a marathon and not a sprint. And we're often conditioned in this role of fathers to think of it as a sprint. Let me go do the thing quickly. Okay. Let me go get to the thing. Boom. And then you run out of stamina. You get there and you feel like you've accomplished everything, but it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at it that way. And like every marathon, you got to take breaks. You got to drink some water. You got to, what I'm saying? You got to pace yourself, all that stuff. That's what marathons are about. And I believe that when you're a father, because everyone is not a father, and because you're a father means you've been given this ultimate task of fatherhood. So you can do this. Like you can do no, I can do this because you were given, I'm not trying to get all spiritual, but you can do this because you know what? You were given this opportunity. You got it. So pace yourself. Don't look at it as a sprint. You're invested in this forever. That's a big word forever. But you know what I'm saying? You invest not till they 10, 18, you're invested forever. So pace yourself, brothers.
Great
That's
advice.
real good advice. Yeah. So we have a running theme where we dub an episode as we used to call it Hall of Fame, but we did a little twist. Now it's the Hall of Fathers.
Call
So
father.
I would like to nominate this episode into the Hall of Fathers. Dr. Young, do you concur?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Oh man, appreciate it, brothers. Listen, man. I appreciate you, brothers, for everything you're doing. Man. I appreciate this honor of being into your the Hall of Fathers, Hall of Fathers,
The Hall of
Yeah.
Fathers.
Hall of Fathers, man. But remember, I'm on the journey with you, brothers, man. And so I appreciate it. But let's continue open, keep the communication lines open, and I appreciate you, brothers, for everything you're doing, man.
Yeah, if anybody listening wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do so?
I mean, I should have prepared just a little bit more, man. But you can, my LinkedIn page, I mean, you can just search me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I'm an open book, so I'll give you my email address, Albert W. Pless, Albert W. Pless @gmail.com. Just shoot me a note. I'm willing. I'm never too busy to have a conversation.
Appreciate you, brother. Don't
Appreciate you, brothers, man.
All a little cool down before we really hang up. But thanks again for listening to Welcome to Fatherhood Interviews, and stay tuned for further announcements.
All right, brothers.
No? All right.